America's continuing growth depends on the health of her people. A plentiful supply of nutritious, wholesome food will keep our nation strong. Abundant protein-rich meat contributes to the well-being and strength of our people and our country. Meat is a favorite with almost everyone, everywhere. Nowadays, more and more of the meat you buy comes to you fully prepared, ready to eat.
Ball. 2 and 2 on target. 1 out. Runners on first and second. Foul stretches. Pitch.
Easy to serve, prepared meats are an accepted part of our everyday life. No more grinding, mixing, slicing, or even cooking at home unless you want to. This time-consuming work is done for you. Prepared meats, inspected and passed by the United States Department of Agriculture, are clean, safe, wholesome, and truthfully labeled. How can you be sure? Learn for yourself what it takes to earn the right to display the USDA mark of wholesomeness. The story behind this mark of wholesomeness begins with the millions of animals moving from America's farms and ranches through federally inspected slaughtering plants each year. They represent more than 80% of the commercial meat slaughtered in this country. Animals coming under federal inspection are carefully examined by thoroughly trained USDA meat inspectors. Livestock unfit for human consumption is slaughtered separately and converted to fertilizer or other non-food uses. What's more, all government-inspected plants and equipment must meet federal requirements. Each day before operations may begin, everything must be clean and sanitary. The standards are high for your protection. Nothing is left to chance. Every machine part that comes in direct contact with the food you eat must be designed for easy cleaning, and cleanliness is strictly enforced. From the moment a carcass starts on its way along the line, federal meat inspectors stand guard to protect you, the consumer. All meat that passes inspection is stamped with a round purple mark of wholesomeness. The law requires this mark for all meat shipped across state lines or in foreign commerce. Any questionable carcass is set aside. If not acceptable as human food, it is condemned. Only clean, safe, and wholesome meat goes into the cooler for further processing. Every year, from one end of the country to the other, long lines of beef, veal, lamb, mutton, and pork go into the prepared and processed meats that are inspected and passed by the United States Department of Agriculture. About 18 billion pounds a year, or 2/3 of all the processed meats consumed in this country, are prepared under federal inspection. Whether this inspection is made in Portland, Omaha, Dallas, or your hometown, it is the same. The inspector protects you at a point where you cannot do it yourself. For instance, he sees that the processor limits the amount of the less expensive ingredients used in a product. When meat is used in combination with other approved ingredients, regulations specify the minimum amount of meat that must be used in the product. Take frankfurters. More than 7 billion franks and wieners each year earn the U.S. mark of wholesomeness. You identify a frank by its shape and color. The meat inspector sees more than that. He sees that it's made from wholesome meat with approved amounts of other ingredients. In fact, under federal meat inspection, all products containing meat, including soups, gravies, and stews, must contain wholesome ingredients only of the kind and amount appropriate for that product. Federal meat inspectors in the plant make final judgment on acceptability of products. They make judgments every day, many times a day. They rely on their training, experience, and highly developed senses of sight, smell, and touch. They inspect thousands of different meat products for your individual selection. There's bologna, bacon, patties, scrapple, pork loaf, salami, liverwurst, head cheese, liver pudding, luncheon meat, and other favorites. Most of the meat products they see are acceptable, prepared and packaged to suit the most discriminating taste. Even so, the inspector is ever watchful. Where he has a question, he usually makes an on-the-spot judgment. When he isn't able to do so, he may call on the meat inspection laboratories for detailed analyses. For this, he takes a sample like this one in the plant. He packs it with identification, adds dry ice, and sends it along to the nearest meat inspection laboratory. In the lab, the skills and techniques of the scientists will answer the inspector's questions. This bacteriologist tests for evidence of antibiotics or other preservatives, which are not permitted in federally inspected products. A part of the sample is measured, placed in the blender, and a phosphate buffer added. The resulting mixture is poured into Petri dishes. Paper discs are dipped into this mixture and then placed on plates already treated with assay organisms. After a period of incubation, discs from 2 different meat samples give their answers. Antibiotics are not permitted because they could conceal some kinds of deterioration while preserving the normal meat color. Scientists in the laboratories are there to help the inspector in the plant resolve the questions he faces. They provide one more resource on which he can draw in making a final judgment of acceptability. And until such final judgment is made, the product is retained. Then it is either released for food or rejected and converted to uses other than food.